And because of that treatment of breaking you in, that trauma-based training that would break down the new recruits, and if you make it through the traumatic experience, then you're worthy enough, then you're soldier enough, and you can soldier through the rest of the day. It is a very barbaric, emotionally very unintelligent way of building an industry. But these are the foundations. So we're just mere years after the notion that a casting couch is okay, or that you just gotta suck it up and just be a different person at work. I remember when I used to be a photographer on a cruise ship, because the job itself was physically grueling and dangerous. The first thing that I did was I removed my rings, and I'm tying my hair up and I'm wearing the uniform, and I feel like a soldier. I feel like that sheer act of putting my personal jewelry down is putting a part of my personality down, and I have to adopt a different kind of personality. You would have that with literally like putting a suit on, putting an armor on, putting a costume on, or putting a piece of equipment on, or grabbing a piece of equipment, where you would shift your mindset, and all of a sudden now you're in work mode. And yes, and I'm a huge fan of improv, so everything is a yes and for me. Yes, and there is value in discipline. There is value in showing up at work with professionalism. And at the same time, when you feel like something is so important for you, something stupidly small is so important for you, that without that, you are losing and sacrificing a part of yourself, a sense of self, then you are going to resent yourself, your adopted role, and your employers, your coworkers, the entire industry very, very quickly. Life will start to feel like you are acting and performing and not being and existing. And that is a miserable life. So you don't have to do that. Traditionally, the industry was putting that nonsensical pressure on people that you would have to do it, otherwise you're never going to work in this town again. But that is changing with a new generation, with a new quality of people. This notion of you just have to suck it up because this is just the way it is and this is how we do things. Now we're building a culture where we can, with emotional intelligence, not with lashing out, not with resentment, with emotional intelligence, we can speak up and speak out and start to have a dialogue and start to build a new structure, a new foundation, a new system for a day-to-day on-set or office experience in film production or in post, where we, as the individuals that show up to work, don't feel like a workhorse, don't feel like a machine, don't feel like a mindless, soulless puppet that's just being pushed around and exploited and treated as moving props in a very little cog in a very, very large machine.